and that their designs are elegant, that is efficient and coherent. Again, a little bit conflicted in this regard, and bringing in kind of intrinsic principles, which might be a little more characteristic of a feeling orientation. Architects also become obsessed with analysis, and this can seem to shut others out. Once caught up in a thought process, architects close off and persevere until they comprehend the issue in all its complexity. So notice just in that the absence of that strong-willed, decisive character that was described here that you might expect to be associated with left hemisphere thinking. So in both cases here, this seems to describe this very well. This seems to describe this very well. But in each case, this does not seem to be descriptive of that, and this does not seem to be descriptive of that. So I'm going to say that this is NE, and this is TE. Almost there. Oh, yeah, 2 minutes. All right. And so if you go through all the other types and do a similar analysis, what you'll find is that 4 of them match what you would expect here very, very closely. 4 of them, being these 4, do not match what you would expect at all. They're this kind of conflicted conflation of the characteristics of the 2 hemispheres. And this PJ dichotomy, when you decode all the types, all the J's have some combination of these 4 in the primary and secondary functions, and all the P's have some characteristic of these 4 in the primary and secondary functions. So these are 8 non-overlapping types in terms of their first 2 functions. So what I want to suggest for these 4 types is that these types basically describe communication between the 2 hemispheres. So say, for example, I'm terribly awkward in social situations. 1 minute? 1 minute? And I know you're excellent in social situations. And I know I can get you on the phone at any time of day, even if I call you 100 times a day, and I can ping you, what should I do right now? What should I do right now? What should I do right now? And you're going to answer me, you're going to give me the right answer back. I'm going to start to feel like I have that capability internally. I'm going to start to feel like I am a socially capable person, because I always have the right answer, even if I'm not producing it myself. And so I want to suggest that's essentially what's going on here. That if you are an INTP, you are fundamentally, like the core of your internal experience is this. And you're essentially pinging the left hemisphere over and over and over again. Say, what should I do here? What should I do here? Is this a good idea? Does this make sense? Does this logically follow? Does A logically follow from B? And you're always getting an answer back. So you appear like a thoughtful person, but or a thinking-oriented person. Not that you're not a thoughtful person, but all those areas where the description seemed a little bit conflicted are areas where you get the same output, but the way you integrate it, the way you incorporate it, the way you go after it is characteristic of the other hemisphere. So I'm suggesting that if you're an INTP, you're going and getting rational answers constantly, but you're bringing them back here and incorporating them into appreciative models rather than into the kind of linear, symbolic, analytical models that you would expect of the left hemisphere. And likewise, if you're an intuitive, or an INTJ, you have access to this intuitive capability. You're pinging it constantly. Give me an insight. Give me an insight. Give me a creative idea. tell me what to do here. And you're getting back those insights very reliably, but you're bringing them back here and integrating them into symbologies, into linear models, into that sort of thought. So I use the phrase, my last sentence, I use the phrase, avoiding the tragic life script in the title of my talk. And what I mean by the tragic life script is misinterpreting which one of these two you are. And I think there's similar distinctions for other types. And I think it's particularly when you're younger or immature, it's very, very easy to do. Because if you think about this, if you're somebody who gives, who makes rational distinctions, has access to rational distinctions, but you also have access to this entire intuitive mental model, you can take those rational distinctions and you can take them in all sorts of directions. You can almost verbally or intellectually do more with those rational distinctions than somebody like this. So you almost appear more rational than this person does. And likewise, if you're an INTJ and you can get these intuitive insights, but then you have all this decisive, manipulative capability, executive function, so you can get the insights and you can actually do something with them and implement them in the real world. It's very easy to start thinking of yourself as I'm a creative, I'm an intuitive. And that's what the external world is going to tend to recognize you for, or might be able to recognize you for, more than for that. Done.